Okay, we should be live.
Awesome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Node.js website redesign committee. I guess we'll start going around and doing introductions as usual. I'm Adam Miller. I work at LinkedIn as a front-end web developer, a member of the community committee, and co-chair of the website redesign committee. Tierney, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tierney Sarin. I'm chairperson of the Node.js Community Committee, member of a bunch of all our initiatives, and I'm a developer advocate at Node.js.
Awesome. Jen?
Hey, I'm Jen Schiffer. I'm the community engineer glitch at Fog Creek.
Awesome. Welcome, Jen. Good to have you. Jonah, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Jonah Moses, lead UI over at Node Source, and looking forward to helping out with some of the Node.js website redesign.
Awesome. And Mr. Runkit, whose name I'm sorry I can never remember how to pronounce.
I will start joining with my first name. I'm just an old hat. I'm just used to putting my terminal name. My name is Francisco. I'm CEO of Runkit, and I was just here the last meeting. I had kind of some follow-up questions, and just hoping to be helpful however I can.
Great. Thank you so much. Cool. So let's dive right in. We only have a few things on the agenda today. We have a first point here, which I actually think might be premature to talk about. Miles Bournes brought us as issue number 31, potentially using an API service for website content. Miles brought up that it may be best to use a hosted CMS rather than living in Markdown files or having hard-coded content. And there's been a little bit of discussion on here, and thought we'd bring it up in the larger meeting. So we can spend a little bit of time on this. I don't think we necessarily have quorum on committee members right now to be able to talk about this, and I think it's also a little early about implementation, but
Yeah,
at least
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd say this is probably something we need to talk about once we get to the technical and implementation detail phase.
Yeah.
We're still the whole phase away from that. So
definitely. I think Olivia added the agenda label a couple weeks ago when this first went up, so I think we can take it off for next week. General consensus on the ticket was it's a good idea. It's worked very well for us at LinkedIn for our internal site, having this kind of content management thing, but we got to be careful of cost, and we can look at it closer when we get to that stage. So
I will just add, I can give a little bit of insight into the one he explicitly proposed, which is Contentful. We use them at NodeSource, and they are also very open to community stuff. I know a few of their DevRels, so we might be able to go through the path of getting an open source, version of that if that's a need, or we can go through the foundation to get money for that. We did. So
awesome, but we will get there after we have a design.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Anybody else have anything else to add, or can we move on? Nope. Cool. Onward to, I'm going to push issue 29 towards the end, since this is more administrative.
Okay.
So let's move on to issue number 18. Coordinating again, started with content with Node School. We actually there's a ticket that should be on here that's somewhat related. I had opened a ticket for an additional meeting to discuss, to do one-time iteration on getting started content. And nobody responded to the doodle. I will reping that. Do we still think for one that a separate meeting for iterating on getting started content, just drafting that is wanted or needed? Should I re-up that call for attendees, or do we want to scrap that and maybe save it for an in-person session over in Berlin?
So I think we should definitely do an in-person session in Berlin. But on top of that, I think we do have two people here that probably are going to be helpful in guiding us a bit on that, and discussing the implementation details of that. And I know we're still in the design phase, but that should, getting their feedback and input on that would probably be helpful. So, yeah, would you two do you have any kind of ideas or suggestions on how we should approach doing getting started content for the Node.js website, in the vein of something like Babel's getting started or Webpack's getting started?
I'm thinking that in terms of, just like those other sites do, having a working example that people can just spin off of with I guess, very low effort. I haven't thought about it in terms of what those examples could be. This is my first time coming to this meeting, but I'm very interested in working out that kind of stuff. I have a lot of experience with building education materials around Node, so be happy to help out with that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jen, we'd love to get your spiel for Glitch and how we should could and should maybe approach it with that platform as well. If you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I have a little document that is actually a lot less casual than I'm used to, but I figured that there might be some people who can't listen in and might be better off at reading. I guess I could add those to the minutes document.
Definitely, that'd be wonderful.
Sure. I'm just gonna paste it under other, I guess.
Oh, and I forgot to mention at the beginning, if everybody in attendance could go in and add their names to the present section of the meeting minutes doc, that would be wonderful.
I can also help take care of the minutes because I realize Manuel's not here. Usually does that.
Yeah. So. Wonderful. And yeah, Jen, adding that to the meeting minute docs would be great. We'll also follow up and comment on the meeting ticket with the link as well.
Cool. I'm not going to wrestle any further with Google Docs formatting. We don't need that negativity in our lives. Cool. So yeah, for those who are listening that aren't in the minutes, if you can go to glitch-nodejsorg.glitch.me or nodejsorg, as I've read it. So yeah, I know not everyone is familiar with Glitch or who the hell I am or where I work or whatever. I'm Jen Schiffer. I work at Fog Creek. Glitch is the product I'm working on as a community engineer. Fog Creek is a small company. We're headquartered in New York City in the financial district. I say that we're the cool, not bad people on Wall Street. And we've been around for 18 years, building all sorts of tools to help devs do their best work. That's sort of our mission. We created Fogbug 17 years ago, which is now Manuscript. We co-created Stack Overflow, invented Trello, and now we're working on Glitch, which we call the friendly community where you'll build the app of your dreams. I have a background in education and art and full stack engineering, and I vividly remember learning that you can write JavaScript on the server and being okay, now nothing will ever surprise me. And we've spent the last year on Glitch, enhancing the dev experience specifically for Node. Every app is a container, and the code that you write in the editor auto deploys. So we have examples of different languages on the community site, glitch.com, but our full support is for Node applications and static sites. And in fact, static sites are just an abstraction of a Node application. We just launched a rewind Git interface, a Node debugger. So now you can, not only have we brought view source to server side code, but we've also brought full stack debugging. It currently works on Chrome, and we're very happily working with the Firefox DevTools team to get that going. They used to have the debugger in their tools, and then they took it out because it wasn't an official thing. And we're helping to bring them back in, and then getting in touch with the Edge DevTools team so that we could have that feature everywhere. And so I'm pretty confident that Glitch is the best platform, not one of the best platforms to be introduced to Node. And we've been introducing Node to people of all ages all over the world. We have developers using Glitch. We have companies like Slack using it to teach people how to build Slack bot and integrations. We have people embedding Glitch apps into their blogs because it has OEmbed support. I guess projects that have been using it embedded within their docs include Prosmere, Element, Square, and so forth. And we've recently, and this is what I'm really super excited about, have been teaming up with education nonprofits like Mouse.org and other initiatives and boot camps like Free Code Camp, Major League Hacking's local host to make Glitch the platform that their users are being introduced to coding with. And I've been helping building materials for them in the classroom and at events. And Node is a big part of that because I'm very passionate about that project. So Miles told me about this redesign going on, which I was very excited about, and that you were looking for a sandbox. And I think that there's a lot of different use cases for Node to be on the site. And I think some of them would be really great for RunKit, and I think some of them would be really great for Glitch. Glitch in particular lets you have multiple files. It's just an application that's embedded in essentially an iframe. It allows front-end files also, and I think that a very important thing to remember is that though Node.js is a framework for server-side code, it really is being introduced widely to front-end developers. And so having these sort of full stack application examples in there would be really effective to getting people to understanding like the concepts of server-side code and how Node makes that sort of lack of context switching and language change like really powerful. And we've already been witnessing that in the past years. So using something like Glitch, and I have an embed example in that document I posted. The project's Hello Express. This is one of the 3 apps that you see on glitch.com when you want to get started with the new project. It's very minimal. It's we call it the dream of the future app, and it just shows a form where you can sort of add your dreams. It's an abstract to-do list, and so this is embedded here. We allow you to customize the embeds to whether you're going to just show the app view, the code, or both. You can also give it query parameters for what file you want it to show initially. And I think one of the coolest things about it is that once you start editing that code, and you can, we have hot remixing. So it remixes when you edit. So within seconds, you have a copy of this app that is your own that you can play around with, and it auto deploys. So you don't have to worry about the DevOps stuff. Glitch doesn't require a login. So users aren't going to have to log into anything in order to do the hot remixing. Apps exist for 5 days if you don't have a login. So it's great for just playing around here and there. But then if you do log in, you get that copy of the app forever. So yeah, embeds can be remixed. They can be edited. Remixes are secure. We have the .env file for adding like your tokens for third-party APIs and stuff, which you might want to work into your Node examples. But those values don't get remixed. Neither does anything in the .data folder. So that's where I typically have people put their database files. That Hello Express example, there's a Hello SQLite example as well. And in the .data is where the SQLite file is generated. And like most importantly, I'm giving a conference keynote tomorrow at Generate, and a big theme of it is what I call non-consensual ephemerality, where like everything dies, but it should be on our own terms. So as you're exploring using third-party services, it's really important that all of us, including the service, proactively have a process for what happens if that service goes away. And with Glitch, we think about that a lot in terms of not having lock-in. The apps that you build on Glitch, there's no proprietary protocol, no special languages, no set of commands. We just look at the NPM scripts and deploy from there. So you can export all of these examples, all these apps to GitHub, or if you don't use GitHub, you can just download a zip file. So we're not locking you into it in that sort of way. Just goes to say, though, that we've been around for 18 years. We've never taken funding. We're a self-sufficient company that wants to be here for the long run. And so Glitch right now, the current features are free and they will remain free. We're going to be adding a for teams feature or membership. You can go to glitch.com/for-teams, no hyphen or space, where we're asking for feedback on what people want. Because I am and the rest of my team are such a huge fan of Node.js and it's a big part of this platform, we are fully ready to support the Node.js community and the site. So we will be giving for teams for free. And basically, Anil Dash, my CEO, he's like, yeah, we'll give them everything for free. We'll put it in writing. Like, we don't want the Node.js org to have to like pay for anything on our service. And so that's sort of our way of supporting it in return. So yeah, that's my spiel. If you have any questions beyond this meeting, jen@glitch.com is my email. That's Jen with 2 N's. And then if you're working with Glitch or trying it out and you have any issues, you can message me. We have a very active support forum at support.glitch.com. And if you're working on any code within Glitch and you get stuck, you could highlight it and ask the community for help, and people could come in real time and help you out with that. So yeah. Are there any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen, and thank you for the very generous offer for the free for Teams account. Yeah, I have a couple questions. For one, I have also used your product before. We use it a little bit over at LinkedIn, just to touch, and it's just casually, but it's I really do enjoy the full project experience here. But I don't have a strong understanding around like a debug experience for more server-side stuff. Could you talk a little bit about the features that are there to support that, or feature plan stuff?
Yeah, so this isn't something that would be shown in an embed, but if you're working on a Node app on Glitch and you open up the logs, there's a little ladybug icon there. It gives you a link to open up in Chrome DevTools a connection to the Glitch app. So you can do breakpoints in the server-side code in Chrome DevTools. It's not like the perfect experience, but for security reasons, of course, the browser vendors are not going to let us open up someone's DevTools for them. So that's by design, but it's a lot closer than people have been getting. And again, we've been talking to the Firefox DevTools team, like literally met with them, I think like yesterday morning, times the social construct. It was sometime this week, about them bringing their debugger back into the DevTools, because it's kind of like not complete and not really like an owned project, but they're ready to bring that back in. So hopefully there'll be a time where the Node debugger feature in Glitch can work on all browsers. So.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I really, what you said about having front-end files in here, running in here as well, really resonated with me. And I'm personally a front-end dev by training myself. And Tierney, I believe last time we talked about having, at least on the homepage, having, I believe it was you who said that there's more than one target audience for Node, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And having sections of the Getting Started track be targeted towards different people with different concerns may also help. And part of that would include front end, which through Glitch would be good to show.
And so a kind of question in that, Jen. So, you know, Node and front end are always great. Do you have like support for something like a Docker file? Like, could we do a Node.js and Docker tutorial with Glitch easily? Like getting set up with Node and Docker together?
I don't know if that is a use case that works within the confines of a Glitch app. Like I said earlier, there are going to be examples that I think that RunKit really shines on. that's sort of like right within the page showing log stuff. You can't see the logs in an embed, and you'd have to like open it up into Glitch. And if you own the project, you can see it. So for those like sort of more entirely server side log examples, Runkit would be great. As for Docker, I haven't explored that idea, but that is very interesting. That's quite possible. Awesome. Is there like a sort of, I guess it would be in the GitHub issues somewhere, sort of a list of ideas that you all have already brainstormed on like how you want to introduce Node on the site in terms of like, a Docker example or something like that?
So I don't think we have it written out. I think we talked about it a bit in the last meeting, and a lot of the things outside of what we've discussed in this meeting are probably just in my head. So I can definitely go and write those down.
We don't have any concrete artifacts yet of what we want from a getting started workflow. We had been talking about coordinating and working with what Node School has already started to put together, and kind of hammering that into the shape of a curriculum for the website, or a learning path for the website. But beyond that, we have intent to set up a dedicated meeting of people who just want to really get down in the nitty gritty and create some content. And I believe we're also planning on hosting a session at the Collaborators Summit.
It'd be really interesting to see if we could open up an issue to discuss various ideas that people have, because we can all come up with plenty of ideas, but opening it up to the community might lead to some ideas that none of us might think about.
Yeah, especially since a lot of educators have a lot of opinions on the best way to introduce it to like different students of different ages. So opening it up as wide, I've learned, is really effective.
Yeah, I thought we hadn't. I believe we do have an issue for that. You know what? No, it looks like we never kind of migrated this coordinate getting started content with Node School to.
Yeah,
I think in the conversation we addressed that, like, hey, we want to start drafting our own content.
I recall us talking about that before, but I don't think we created any issues from that.
Definitely. Well, let's add that as an action item to the meeting notes. There we go. Getting started. Cool. Yeah, that is something we definitely want to iterate on. And as I said before, if we do want this additional meeting for like a sit-down face-to-face time to actually, sit down and collaborate on a shared Google Doc or something, let's totally do that. I will reping that thread with the doodle. Yeah, it got next to no responses when I posted it after the last meeting. So we'll try and reping that, and then we'll keep working offline for a dedicated list of content ideas. But from I've seen from both Glitch and Runkit Is y'all occupied slightly different spaces and slightly different concerns. Like Glitch, Runkit, I absolutely love what's been done to visualize constructs that are presented in the code, so you can actually see buffers as they come out in a very beautiful way, and it's well laid out and well explained for someone who might not have a strong understanding of the APIs or of the data structures being passed around. Whereas Glitch, you're very heavily focused on whole product development and showing multiple files, which we'll also want to do in other places on the site. And I'm wondering how people feel about perhaps using both where it makes sense. Like I love the idea of Runkit on API docs and Glitch for these kind of getting started examples where we need more project layout.
So I just wanted to kind of pick your brain a little, because last time we had talked about these kind of full app things, and I guess one way to think about Runkit is that it's less like a here's this thing and more of a kind of like IDE SDK. And I think maybe that kind of showed itself in the two examples I gave yesterday. And we've been certainly brainstorming on the kind of full app example. And I guess one of the main questions I have is kind of like, and the expectation is not that you answer this now, just kind of what helps us think about this content and what might help even the general content discussion outside of Brunkit or Glitch or anything, which is kind of like what is the goal of the page, right? Like the pages we made before, like the goal we came up with was like, we want the user to download Node. And so like everything kind of was trying to funnel to like, make you think Node is cool as fast as possible and make you think Node is the right answer to your particular problem over Go or whatever else you might be like have in your mind. As you know, I'm trying to imagine this like theoretical first-time user who's comparing Node to something else, right? And so in particular for kind of like the full app thing, the kind of example we were thinking of showing you all is we called the like X-ray app. And so what we're thinking is kind of like, you know, your different files, whether front end or back end, package JSON, yarn. Again, like that's another like important question to us. Like, what is a full app? Like, are we saying we're only pretending NPM exists, or pretending shrink wraps exist, or pretending yarn exists? And then the goal would be like, as you click through the files, some of them totally editable, an HTML file, a JS file. Package.json, we were thinking maybe you can only edit the title or something, and then we don't let you edit the dependencies because, like, right, the package.json is this weird file where like half of it is computer generated most of the time, and half of it is like free reign. And then like the yarn file, like not editable at all. And like basically at the top, and this is like kind of the most important part in our mind, explaining what these files are, right? So as you're clicking through like the left-hand thing of the files, saying, hey, this is the package JSON. Why is this in here? Well, because this describes the title of your app, whatever. This is the yarn file. You're probably not going to touch this. Like, this is generated by this really cool thing. Here's a link if you want to find out about yarn, right? So that's kind of like what we were thinking, like taking this like kind of full app experience and like justifying, showing you the added complexity with like clear explanation of what you should expect to be kind of interacting with and what you won't, I guess. And then using that also as an example to like, hey, if you're writing a terminal app, your folder really will just perhaps look like one file, which I think is like a really impressive aspect of Node. That like, I mean, if you use like Objective-C or Swift or something, technically you can shove everything in the .c file, but no one, like, that's not an actual like reality, right? And I think like it's really powerful that Node, you can get really far in one file.
Yeah, and I think what we'll probably want to do is let the content dictate the layout here. I think we've gotten very good demos from both of you, and what we need to do as the website redesign team is figure out what this design looks like, and then make the choice based on for what we use where, based on the content we're trying to present. So that's certainly what we need to move on to.
And I definitely agree with that. And I also think that, you know, as Jin mentioned, that there's very different use cases for each of them, each of the platforms. And like that demo that y'all shared with us from RunKit last time was incredible for the docs. Like that was a really solid demo. And that's honestly something that I think we should probably do, because it takes out a lot of the pain of docs on our end and on the user's end. Because the docs are one of the most painful things to me in Node.js right now, just in terms of usability and stuff. So that was really solid. And like, that's a really good use case. And I imagine that there's going to be other similar use cases just across the site. And then like in the vein of getting started, I do think that Glitch, the way Glitch is organized into lowering the barrier and having that kind of full insight into your application is probably a really good approach for, you know, some of the getting started content as well. So I definitely think that we're gonna end up going with a little bit of both, like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, just because of the nature of how broad Node.js is and how much we have and we have to do. And each of the two platforms offer a really solid solution for our two biggest problems. So that's just my guess. Like obviously not committing to anything, but that's my guess of what's going to happen. So.
And before we get there, we should come up with a learning path for getting started. I feel like that's the next step here. So we will certainly get that issue created and start actually drafting the content for what we want to see here. Tierney, you said before that you had been working on releasing some blog posts for NodeSource that might be also some relatively applicable content here.
Yes, for sure. And that was, I don't know if that was necessarily the getting started so much as the community section.
Okay.
But I do have quite a bit of content already on getting started that I'm happy to kind of reuse.
I find it always helps with these community, ask for content from the community if there's like a seed there. So if you'd like to like draft at least a little bit of scaffolding for what you think would be good, it would help kickstart the conversation, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Awesome. Do we have anything else we'd like to address here, or can we move on to actual pixels on the screen design and wireframes?
I don't think we have anything else here.
Awesome. Also, welcome, Manil. Good to see you. Hi. Great. So let's move on to issue number 15. This is the perennial wireframes issue, which I believe said last time we are wrapping up, and we are moving on to starting to kick off actual visual design. Just a reminder to everybody listening in on the on the YouTube stream and everybody else here. We have a channel in Node Slackers where we're hoping to do faster iteration of content and ideas. We're all hanging out in there, so please come join. Hold on, sorry. Yeah, okay. But we had wanted to kind of move on to this more visual design phase, which we are in need of people to get down and dirty with actual design iterations. We'd love to base probably what we're making off of the wireframe prototype that's been put out, at least loosely based on that. But we're also in need of a process for how we're going to handle this. I don't think we have really tackled this before, especially since this being an open source project, there's no one, we're not assigning it to a designer to go iterate on. But that might be at the end of the day what we need to do. So I'd like to open up the floor for, as we now dive into this properly and enter this phase officially of the project, how people think we should move forward.
So I have just two quick things I'll pop up. So one, if we do decide on the need to have someone who's dedicated to do this, we can likely go through the foundation and get some money and get an RFP out for that, and then go through that process. I'm helping go through that with the certification right now. It's not a short process. So, if we can do it through the community, that would be stellar. But we do have that option if we need to go back to that. Beyond that, I do know that there's some designers in the JavaScript community, and we would absolutely love to have them. I know Rachel White knows a few of them that would be interested in helping out, had been interested in helping out with a different Node.js website project that might be willing to help out with this. But I definitely like to open the floor to y'all to, if you all have any suggestions, we love to reach out and interact with those people.
Yeah, I kind of see two options for us here, and one is to go with the work through the foundation to get a specific company or person hired to make this happen, which might have longer turnaround time, but would probably be easier to manage and probably have a more reliable output at the end of the day. Or we could switch into a kind of active recruitment phase and just kind of have this call for submissions of people's take on the design. Unfortunately, true collaborative design, like what we do with code, is exceptionally difficult if you're not sitting in the same room.
Yep.
So I think we'd have to go for this async, like everybody submit your proposal, like we'll vote on which direction we like better, and then ask people to iterate off of that and kind of go through this evolving round of submissions for actual mocks. And that would be 100% driven by interest. Like we need dedicated, engaged designers who really want to see this through to the end in order to make that work.
So one of the things that I will kind of give context around is in Node.js and IO.js, we did, I think, 3 or 4 rounds of design by committee, including like basically exactly what you're proposing. Once for a website for IO.js. We got all the designs. They're in the Git history. I went through and deleted them, but they're in the Git history of the evangelism repo. So they were, amazing designer, did a ton of work on the design. But the thing that always happens, or that I've seen happen at least 3 times now, is we get a bunch of designs, and then like we don't really have a good way to stop, and we don't have a good way to select. Like, yes, this one has good elements, this one has good elements, this one has good elements. Like for 20 different designs, how do we pick? And so what I think would probably be most beneficial is getting people to raise their hand and then saying, cool, we'd love to have you work on this. Could you either go through a small initial thing and say, hey, cool, you did this thing, we like it, let's go on to the next stage with 2 or 3 people, or just choose one of them rather than going through the whole path of like expecting a full design. Because even in a full design, we'll need to work with people a little bit closer. I don't know. We've done this design by committee thing a few times, and it's always been a little bit confused, and a lot of people's feelings have gotten hurt, and it's not been great. So that's
something else I'm a little worried about with relying on the leveraging the more than one person in the community for design. Design's also a very personal process.
Yes.
And I want no one to feel slighted or underappreciated. That's for sure. But I do like this idea of maybe divvying out sections of the website and having people iterate on them separately as smaller bite-sized chunks, and this body be the glue that holds it together and making sure it gets stitched together in a reasonable way. But again, this is all predicated with, do we have that community engagement? Can we find those individuals who want to pixels around like this? So Tierney, how long is the what's the time scale in the process for finding?
So the RFP for certification went out 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't, the proposals haven't been completed because the foundation's going through its processes. So the proposals aren't even in for that yet. And that's after, I think, a week or 2 of defining the RFP itself, which was non-trivial. And basically, someone just stepped up and did it, who does this professionally. So, it's not easy.
I'd certainly be happy to help with drafting and paperwork. That's certainly in my wheelhouse, but it does sound like it would be a month plus turnaround on getting started with this, right?
Yeah, to get started, right? Yeah, probably 2 or 3 times that to get completion of the RFP and have someone start on it. So, I can start talking to Mark about that and get it rolling with the assumption that this is a fallback rather than, we don't have to make the decision now versus like, we don't have to make that right now.
Yeah, because this strictly makes funds available to us, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
It's not us. It's not a buy-in to using the funds or finding a partner for it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it would be good to start going through that process.
Cool.
Just in case we find ourselves 1 month, 2 months from now with a half-designed website and no clear path forward, we can pull the trigger on that if need be.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you could start talking to Mark about that, we'd very much appreciate it.
Yes,
I know there's also design wants and needs from badges, which we might be able to wrap into that as well if we do go that route for Node.js official design moving forward.
So before we hop off this topic, I'd like to see if anyone else has anything to say on this, any input, because I know Adam and I have kind of talked a lot about it. So I'd love to hear from anyone else in the meeting.
It might be worth thinking about if we were to go the route of putting out a call and asking people to design or to propose a design for a specific part of the website, to think about which part they could design that would kind of represent the website as a whole. That would be my 2 cents. Might be too early to start thinking that, but if we are going to put a call out there.
Yeah, it might be nice to make this call more than just a GitHub issue as well. Like, let's think about it. Let's make it a real call to action. And let's, as this crew here, let's get before we do that, let's get the infrastructure in place to handle maybe an influx of people. Let's figure out how we're going to be divvying up the site and asking people to claim a piece of it, maybe self-assign in a spreadsheet or something, to taking a stab at a section of the site. Get some basic visual guidelines out there so you don't get people coming out of left field with new iterations, and at least set up the funnel for people coming in, but then actually make this a big, hey, Node.js is redesigning. Everybody come help if you're interested. Call to action.
Awesome.
Yeah. I will create the issue to set up that pipeline on our end and work towards, she might use that nifty GitHub projects feature to work towards a public call to action for designers on our end.
Sounds good.
Sweet.
Do we have any more agenda items?
Yeah, if there's nothing else to add, I believe that was our last agenda item for the day. Anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up before we?
So I did move the one we said to wait to the bottom of the agenda.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, to have some. No worries.
Yeah, we have been invited to give a little presentation at the Collaborator Summit about the work that's been happening here in the website redesign committee, and we also want to host a dedicated session, presumably for getting started content, but also maybe for other topics if we have other things we want to bring up there. So I just wanted to make sure this stayed at the top of everybody's minds, and that Manil, you and I make sure that we work towards getting whatever we're going to be saying at the Collaborator Summit, polished and well established before we show up. So I'm not sure if we have time today, or if we even have stuff as a group that we can do here, but I wanted to make sure it stayed at the top of everybody's minds that we will be there, we'll be talking, it's gonna be a blast. Yeah.
Hey Adam, do you know if there's going to be like meeting notes shared from that for those of us that can't make it?
Definitely. It's my understanding that it will be live streamed, and there will also be meeting notes. I saw that going on in the conversation. There was somebody who brought up that previous ones had not been well documented, and we want to make sure that it is this time. So from what I've heard, yes, it will be well documented.
Excellent.
Yeah. While we're all here, is there anything else that we'd like to see happen in an in-person meeting of website redesign, other than like really knocking out getting started content. Just shooting out ideas here.
I think it might be helpful to have, I mean, that's only like a month away, a little bit more than that. It might be really helpful to try to aim to like launch that design call at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
At the in-person meeting?
Yeah.
I think that's a good goal.
That's also a good place for us to go socialize it at JSConf.eu. So
exactly. That's very true. Okay, awesome. Well, if that's all we got on the agenda, thank you everybody on the YouTube stream for calling and listening. Please feel free to jump in on the GitHub issues as you see fit and as you're interested. We'd love to have you. And awesome. Thank you all for calling in today.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
y'all.
everyone.
Yeah,
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.